The body does not know the difference between a tiger and an empty afternoon. Both can trigger the same survival response. And that is why rest can sometimes feel like a threat. Welcome to the Always On Mute podcast, where we know not everyone was born with a mic in their hand or a megaphone in their mouth, but we still have something to say because quiet is still a voice. Welcome to Always On Mute podcast. I am Antonia. Today, I want to talk about why rest, something meant to restore, can feel uncomfortable, even threatening in a world that measures worth by productivity. Now, for me, rest was a thing that was never high on my priority list. I remember I used to tell my mom that, I'll rest when I die. It sounded simple then, and it still sounds simple now, like silly. But, that's how I used to feel. I was young. But it's true. You will rest when you die. But the reality of it is, in order to stay healthy and be able to function, you need rest, good quality rest. But rest looks different for everyone. Now, if rest has ever made you feel guilty, if stillness has ever made you feel uneasy, if doing nothing has ever felt like doing something wrong, nothing is broken. It means that you've been operating inside a system that taught you to measure worth by output. That system has a name. It is toxic productivity. This isn't ambition. Ambition allows growth and recovery. Toxic productivity refuses rest. I'm very familiar with that. Psychologists call this performance-based self-esteem. When I did a lot today, feels like I'm okay as a person and I didn't do enough. Feels like something is wrong. Not dramatic, just quiet conditioning. Working through exhaustion became very normal for me. Late nights, working on the weekends, pushing through even when I knew I was depleted. Sometimes I took my laptop with me on vacation. Didn't matter where I went. My work laptop came with me, right? Because I just felt like I had to do all these things. When people would say, what doesn't get done today can get done tomorrow. Like, I'm doing it all today. That's the mentality that I had. Kid you not, right? Even on vacation, I felt like that way. And people would look at me like, girl, it's not that serious. I'm like, yes, it is. Not anymore, though. Back then, I ignored the signs. Headaches, fatigue, getting sick, feeling drained. Like I really felt my body shutting down, right? I kept telling myself I had to get everything done. And when I didn't stop, my body stopped me. My body was like, okay, well, if you don't want to voluntarily do it, we will force this shutdown. And I really and truly felt my body shutting down one cell at a time. Burnout would lead to me getting sick. And when I say sick, I'm talking about a fever that would turn into some kind of upper respiratory infection. And I would have to go to the doctor to get antibiotic, the whole works all the time. Like this didn't happen just once, right? But what would happen is after it happened, I would regret it because I'd be like, oh my gosh, you know better. And you should have listened to your body, all the things, right? All the things. And I would tell myself, all right, it's not going to happen again. It happened again and again and again. But I have learned it happens no more. I listen now because of rest. Performance-based self-esteem is simple. If productivity drops, worth feels shaky. If output is high, things feel stable. That doesn't mean someone is insecure. It usually means they were rewarded for achievement long before they were taught how to rest. So rest feels unfamiliar. Not wrong, unfamiliar. The nervous system has two primary modes. One for survival and action, one for rest and repair. When productivity becomes the main way safety is felt, the system stays in survival mode. So when you finally decide to sit down, calm doesn't always arrive. Anxiety does. The body's like, what's going going on? Why are we calm? What are we forgetting? This is called relaxation-induced anxiety. The system has learned that stillness equals danger. Danger. Not because rest is dangerous, but because it's unfamiliar, right? There were times when I tried to rest and it felt uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. Like I needed to be doing something. Like, what am I doing? For me, not doing anything felt like wasting time, precious time. There were times when I needed to sit my behind down. Like there were times when I was sick and or needed to be in bed, and I would find something to do, whether it was tidying up a bit or catching up on something. Like I never knew how to just stop, right? I had to actually train myself how to pause. And the first time that I remember choosing to intentionally stop, be still, was on vacation. I was in Jamaica on vacation, and there was a time when I would walk with my personal laptop everywhere. I was either writing a family newsletter, planning a family reunion, planning some kind of event, whether for church or a women's group that I was in, or organizing something for family or team or group or whatever have you. For me, like staying busy was my thing. Walking with my laptop was my thing. My laptop was kind of like my friend, my buddy. It was my I don't know, it was kind of like my security blanket, right? But I remember choosing to leave my laptop and my phone in my room. My phone was more for like entertainment, but I decided I'm not even going to bring that because the phone was also work. The phone was basically the mini version of my laptop. So I remember on this particular day choosing to leave everything in the room, and I walked with a book, right? I told myself I'm going to be brave, because those things for me were distraction. They were and if I didn't have a human crutch, these were kind of like my human crutch. I'm an introvert. But on this particular day, I remember leaving the devices in my room and choosing to go outside with a book. And the whole idea was to just be still, right? Not have any kind of electronics, just be still in the moment. And I will say that day for me, sitting at the beach, choosing to be still, choosing to just appreciate nature, it was the beginning of something wonderful for me, right? Because up until that time, restlessness was a thing for me. My mind would be racing and going all over the place. And I felt like I just, like had to be doing all these things, right? All these things that were on my list of things to do, and even things that I would just create in the moment, like, oh, I got to do this. And over time, that restlessness had been replaced with peace. Now, when my mind starts to run all over the place, I'm like, stop. And I would note, whether on my phone or on a piece of sticky or in my notebook, I would note what was meant to be noted, like what was important, and everything else basically pushed it aside, and I would return to the moment, right? And what I've learned is that skipped rest is like forcing a shutdown, right? So if we choose to just keep going and not pay our body mind and not, choose to be intentional about taking the time that our body needs to recover, the body is like, all right, well, if you ain't gonna do it, shut down and process, right? So rest is that reboot, cache cleared, temporary files gone. That's what that is. That's that reset that the body needs. So there's a belief that rest must be earned. Finish everything, prove enough, then stop. But the finish line, it moves. The to-do list regenerates overnight like it has Wi-Fi. So rest keeps getting postponed. And guilt fills the space. This belief usually starts early. Praise follows performance. Stillness goes unnoticed. Over time, the body learns stillness equals not enough. There's a part of the brain that activates when you stop forcing focus. It's where insight, clarity, and integration happen. It's where connections form. Rest doesn't interrupt productivity, it makes meaningful productivity possible, especially for people whose richest thinking happens internally. This isn't a lesson, it's just where things are right now. So for me right now, I am learning that rest isn't one size fits all. Some people think that, oh, you should get 8 hours of sleep every night, blah, 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 right? But it's not one size fits all. What works for one may not necessarily work for you. For me, being home more has been a form of rest. Not sleep. Really, I'm not getting a lot more sleep. But I believe that because I am not forcing myself to be outside, I'm not forcing myself to be social, that is draining. And I'm not constantly expending energy the way that I once used to. I'm resting. My sleep is still about 4.5, 5 hours, give or take, sometimes 3. So that has a change, right? But what I'm not doing is I'm not pretending that I've mastered that part. What I'm doing is I let myself move slower. I let myself be still when I need to be still. I don't set an alarm on the days when I work remotely. I allow myself to basically wake up. And I think my body's conditioned because I used to just get 5 hours, and 5 hours for me was fantastic. I can operate on 3, but I try not to. But it all depends if I'm working on something for me, because most of my time nowadays is spent on my passion projects. So my social contents, my websites, my t-shirt, like whatever it is that I'm doing, because I'm a CEO. Okay. I'm a CEO. And so, that's one of the things that I appreciated about, being able to work remotely. I'm not sure how much longer that will be, but I am grateful for the fact that I have those days, because on the days when I do not have to wake up early, I do not turn my alarm off, and I get on average 5 hours of sleep, right? So my body does feel more rested than it once used to. My mind still runs all over the place like it has no sense. But for me, reading or listening to an audiobook, it helps to settle it, right? So yesterday I started to listen to one of the Bridgerton books, and it has helped me basically like just stay in the moment, right? So I'm reading it and I'm all it. When I tell you that I'm in it, oh Lord Jesus. I'm currently reading An Offer from a Gentleman so that I can binge the current season. But basically that's what I do sometimes to, like not to allow the thoughts to kind of like calm down. Rest was never the threat though. Just so that rest was never the threat. The belief that worth depends on output was. So nothing about needing rest makes someone weak. It makes someone human. This has been Always on Mute. If this resonated, please leave a comment, share it with someone who needs permission to pause, and subscribe so that you do not miss future conversations like this one. Sometimes the most powerful thing that happens is finally listening. Please stay muted, stay mighty, and I will see you next time. Thank you for tuning in.